This past Sunday, we saw LiQWYD take over the Jets against the Bears as Zach Wilson was benched. We saw LiQWYD's first start of the season, and he certainly delivered. Threw for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, with a 31-10 win. So, is LiQWYD the future of the New York Jets? Here's the thing. We said this last year when he threw for 405 yards and 3 touchdowns with a win, a huge win against the Cincinnati Bengals, filling in for Zach Wilson as well. 2 games later, threw for 251 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions against the Bills, losing 45-17. The hype on LiQWYD isn't going to last. But let's talk about Zach Wilson. He's playing a lot worse than I thought he was. He played his first game week 4. Okay, he missed the first 3 games due to injury against my Pittsburgh Steelers. I, of course, got to see him. He threw for 252 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Minus interceptions, I thought he played pretty well. He, of course, got the win. But then, for 3 games straight against the Dolphins, Packers, Broncos, threw for 0 touchdowns. 0 interceptions, but also 0 touchdowns. Also, only 210 yards against the Dolphins, 110 yards against the Packers, 121 yards against the Broncos. Now you think, okay, well maybe he can substitute that in with rushing. On the ground, his highest rushing game this year was 26 yards, and that was against the Patriots, the game that basically got him benched. So looking at the stats of Zach Wilson, he started 7 games this year with a 5-2 record. That's the main reason why I thought Zach Wilson wasn't the problem. I thought, okay, they're winning with him. But looking at his stats, 1,279 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I told you also with the running game. Not that good. I thought he'd make up for it. Because we saw that with like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. They make up for it on the ground. Not so much the case with Zach Wilson. The Jets are a very talented team. I've been saying this all offseason. I've been saying this throughout the season, doing recaps through predictions when I react to their highlights. They're a very talented team. They're a very fast team. They're going to be talented for years to come, especially with Breece Hall. He's, of course, dealing with the ACL injury, but next year when he comes back, he'll still be a top running back in the league. But, of course, who's going to hold him back? The quarterback situation. We saw against the Patriots. They lost 10-3. A talented offense only scoring 3 points. Probably holding them back was, of course, Zach Wilson. Defense did everything they could. Zach Wilson only threw for 77 yards on 9 completions. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video, he thought he could make it up on the ground, like, of course, Jalen Hurts does, or Lamar Jackson. Only had 26 yards rushing. Okay, that's not good. He doesn't make it up on the ground, obviously. Quarterbacks, you're not going to win games regardless, no matter what you do, throwing 77 yards in a game. It's just not going to happen. They have talented receivers, Garrett Wilson. Elijah Moore got his first touchdown yesterday. Who else? LiQWYD, a new quarterback throwing the football. I actually thought, first of all, that they were going to put in Joe Flacco. I thought Joe Flacco was a better decision because they were winning games too early in the year with Joe Flacco. He's playing pretty good football. He was like in the passing leader for like the first 3 games. First 3 weeks, he was in the top 5 passing yards. So Joe Flacco was playing good football. I thought they were going to stick with him, veteran quarterback. But they rolled with LiQWYD. Obviously, LiQWYD is a younger quarterback. Looking at his stats one more time, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. So let's address the future of the New York Jets and the quarterback situation. Who should they start the rest of the season? I think it's LiQWYD. Why? Because they have a chance for playoffs. We saw how the offense clicked. Had the best quarterback performance of the year with 315 yards and 3 touchdowns once again. Okay, destroying the Bears. I get the Bears aren't a good team, but still a very good performance. He used more options. He threw to many different receivers compared to Zach Wilson only throwing a certain amount of receivers. He threw to everybody. Garrett Wilson had 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore. Everybody was getting the ball. Running backs, wide receivers, slot receivers, backup receivers. Everybody was getting the ball. Exactly what the Jets need. Use as much talent as they could. You put the trust in the Jets defense. Like I said, Jets defense is good. Zach Wilson, not going to be getting done. LiQWYD, he could help get them to the playoffs. Super Bowl contenders, I don't know. Is LiQWYD that talented? Is LiQWYD that experienced? No. But here's the thing, though. We see this all the time with hype in quarterbacks. They'll have a very solid game. Next week, they don't play so well, and then it's all a cycle. Everyone's going to be calling them to get benched. It happens all the time. It happened last year. I knew it would happen last year when LiQWYD had that big game against the Bengals. Good game, no doubt about it. But I knew the hype wasn't going to last long. Some guys just aren't meant for it. And I'm not saying this about hate. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Hopefully I'm proven wrong. I want to see guys succeed all the time. I always want to see players succeed. But the hype doesn't last long. I don't think it's going to last long. They play the Vikings next week. It's in Minnesota. Then they're on the road against Buffalo as well. It's going to be a tough 2-game stretch for they have a bye. So upcoming games bye in week 10. I'm sorry, week 10 already happened. So they will be playing the Minnesota Vikings and then the Buffalo Bills. So 2 very tough games on the road. This is what decides it. Now, if LiQWYD can't get it done against those teams, I think they just have a quarterback issue in general. Might have to draft somebody or go after somebody in the offseason. Jimmy G could be a good target. Jacoby Brissett, who knows? Mitch Trubisky, I don't know. But the Jets got to do it. But their future, do I think Mike White is the future franchise quarterback, like many people are saying, of course, throughout the hype? No. Do I think he's a quarterback for the rest of the season? Absolutely. Even if he gets pounded by the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills, maybe try Joe Flacco. But either way, I think it's safe to say Mike White should be the quarterback going rest of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about Mike White and the New York Jets situation. I'm out, guys. Peace.